They say Marvel's not doing so good lately, so let's talk. And welcome to the Flicks, Picks, and the Nitpicks. And I am your humble host, Nov718, and let's get right down to it. Now they say Marvel's not doing too good. Phase 4 did not go well. That's what they say. And Phase 5 is not starting off too good with Quantum Mania. Then also, we're going to have to talk about Jonathan Majors down the line. But story-wise, CG-wise, a lot of people have been had a lot of concerns with the quality of Marvel's cinematic universe as of late. I mean, Thor Love and Thunder, which I got to do a full review on, but I seen it, and I mean, you know me, I'm easily entertained, but that was just not the way to go. That was they doing too much. You know what I'm saying? Then you got other films that were seen as lackluster, like Black Widow. I liked Black Widow. You know what I'm saying? Shang-Chi, for the most part, the consensus was pretty good. I mean, the box office for Black Panther 2 was actually good, but people will complain that, you know, critically, it was actually seen to be good as well. The only thing is that people are getting mad that, oh, well, it failed because it didn't go to $1 billion, but it was no way it was going to go to $1 billion without Chadwick. So that was expected. So the fact that it made almost $1 billion is still a success. That being said, what else? You got Spider-Man, that worked out, but you know, Sony, but that's still part of the mouse's house. And at the end of the day, there's just not a lot of good out of the series that people have seen. WandaVision, for the most part, was seen to be good. Hawkeye, no one really talks much about. I haven't seen it. I plan on seeing it. I heard a lot of bad stuff about She-Hulk. Yeah, there's some series. I did see WandaVision. Did I see all? No, I did see all of Loki. And yeah, and I think there might be one other one, Mrs. Marvel. I didn't see Miss Marvel. So that being said, and I heard at the time Miss Marvel was actually a pretty damn good series, from what I understood. But you know, you got other corners of the web. They don't talk too highly of Kamala Khan. So, are we seeing a divide? And I think we are. I think Marvel overly leaned on the comedic side of the MCU, and I think in their rush to expand the IP so fast that they didn't realize that they were losing a lot of they had a lot of QC issues that needed a lot more addressing, and maybe even stop like giving out a map of everything that you're gonna have coming, because then you're gonna be beholden to it. Now Marvel's pretty good at backing up what they say they're gonna do, but look at what we're getting out of it. A lot of people are arguing that Kevin Feige has spread himself thin. And there's something to be said about that. Then also, you know, the head of studios had to make a switch back to Bob Iger and Chapek. Remember what was going on with Chapek? And we're here now. I think there's a lot of fundamental issues where where the MCU didn't get the love and care and attention that was done by the producer that just knew how to inch these characters further and further to cross-pollinating and it working. And now that they want to go into this they really want to expand the brand and throw out a lot of characters, which I'm all for. We're having QC issues, and we're all always trying to be very formulaic. And I think that the lack of not leaning into each genre that Marvel claims that they aim to do, they've, like, don't tell me that Doctor Strange is supposed to be the horror film and I go see that shit and it's like, alright, bro. I mean, I get Sam Raimi does this, but nah, this is not exact. I see what could have been done and kept scary. There were moments, but you didn't want to keep it there. She's the Scarlet Witch. There was so much you could have did with that to make her scary, but you didn't want to lean into it because you got to keep it a 4-quadrant film, and I get it. But could you up the creepy factor? Can you do a lot more than just beat for beat knowing that you're going to put jokes in it to pad out the film for the levity that people said that the WB lacked, and it's now going on steroids, and it's just not working. And I think one of the reasons is also that the people that were saying it before were kids then with no real range of what the characters were actually from the source material, to know that there's variations of the characters and they have very intricate like personalities that give them a lot more depth. Yeah, there's corny alternative versions of them, or more comic-y stories, I should say, but at the end of the day, these characters, you can't take them serious if you treat them serious. And some of these characters need to be left in a very serious tone, but I get it. It still has to be a business and make the money. So this is what you're going to get. And even some of the fans that are so-called comic book heads and all of that, they don't want too much of the seriousness that was already in the comics to be put into the films, because, you know, levity and they might explode. I don't know. Like, you see how they be acting with Zack Snyder. But what I think is, and this is why I said that I think Zack Snyder's brilliance will be seen the moment if the WB leans into what Marvel does in terms of the lightness of it, and they'll really embrace darker aspects, the darker tones and stuff like that, and they still follow suit, you're gonna see that WB won't work, and people will long for what Zack Snyder was trying to do, or things in that realm to deepen the character. But at the same time, this is why you have Matt Reeves' The Batman, which to me is just as quote-unquote dark as Zack Snyder's joint. A little bit more grounded, just a tad, you know, in the fact that he could do a lot of that in lens without having to like add a lot, like a CGI tank at the end. Nah, we got this car with a lot of shit on the back. We just ride this shit out. You know, the Batmobile was more practical. I mean, because it was a real physical one we actually seen. But in terms of that tank he had at the end of BVS, that was all digital. So, like, at the end of the day, we have at least with between like Matt Reeves and Zack Snyder, you can see the difference of it. But because Matt Reeves is going to be there, and I think the reason why he will work is the Zack Snyder effect in a way. He is doing a darker film. You know, you call emo Superman was Man of Steel. All right, well, what do you call this Batman? He better be called emo Batman. But again, like I said, but you know, Batman kind of is on written that way a little bit too. But bottom line is that I think if Marvel doesn't start exercising, and like I said, let me be clear, I think Black Panther did well because it was a serious film, and for other reasons, people was curious about what with Chadwick Boseman being gone and everything. But I think the serious tone is what sold the film, because Marvel is lacks that. Even when they have opportunities to go all the way serious, they elect to have some sort of extra comic relief, like they did with the Red Guard in Black Widow. I liked Black Widow. I couldn't stand the jokiness of the character of the Red Guard, Red Guardian or the Red Guard, because he was an oaf. At least in the beginning, he was just a quiet, big dude, and you know who called the shots. But then all of a sudden, like she calls all the shots. He didn't really have much. I won't say he had no personality, but he was just like, just let me know what to do. Then he's this overweight guy in a costume who's supposed to be like the Soviet Union's Captain America, and you made a whole joke of him, like to the point where he was like legitimately an oaf, like he was damn near an imbecile. And it was like, what was that for? We didn't need that character like that. You could have had him serious, because it would have been great to see him fighting. But again, Marvel likes this type of way of going with it. You had opportunity to make the Jason Bourne films, and they did pretty good with it. I'll give them credit for that. With Black Widow, Black Widow's issues was like the online release simultaneously shit and all the rest of that bullshit. But and also people wasn't really interested in a Black Widow film to the level of what we've seen already with the spectacle films. That's why they should have expected a modest, kept the filming to a minimum, the budget to a minimum, shot everything in camera, and then did it that way and made your money that way. So even if you, let's say you put a hundred, just under 100,000, 100 million into it. Then after marketing, man, if that make 500, you doubled your money. You more than doubled your money. Excuse me, not doubled your money. Yeah, you more than doubled your money. That's what's up. So bottom line, the way I look at it, Marvel has to figure out what they want to do. And they're going to have to figure out how to course correct it. I think they're going to have to go back to origin stories so you can fall in love with these characters a little bit easier. I understand they wanted to launch that with the series. And again, people expect Marvel to like... Marvel's going against its own greatness. So they're gonna make the bread, but for how much these films cost to make, it's not cutting the mustard for shit. So again, does Marvel have a problem now? It's possible. It depends on the next couple of films that go out. If they don't get the critically acclaimed or critics like it, if the if it's doesn't make the money that it needs to make, people gonna have to really reconsider. But actually, Kevin Feige's gonna have to reconsider moving forward what will be the next step in recourse to get in front of it. And I think he'll go back to the basics. Of course, it'll be hard to drop off a lot of these films, but I think he'll still move forward. But it just depends on the next couple of films. I'll say the next two. If the next two don't go good, if they have a hit one out the park and the next one is a dud, or the next one's a dud and the next one's out the park, then again, they'll tread lightly, but they'll lean in on the first one that was out the park. If the second one is considered trash, it depends on the placement. Depends on the placement. If they got a good one come out, they'll sigh relief. If the next one's trash, they'll be scared again about how to move forward. They're gonna be like, we're gonna have to still do an overhaul. Now, if the next one is considered trash or whatever, doesn't do well, and the second one does pretty good, then like that comes out that it'll put them in a good space, and I think they'll be at least be like, they might not be so quick to hold up, but they definitely will still pump the brakes on certain things and say and reevaluate what worked in this one that didn't work in the other one, so they can reevaluate what and check the temperature of what's out there. Why are we not hitting the mark with these films? And what I think it is when they lean into these genre films, they don't lean hard enough to differentiate each one. It's very formulated for where the comedy is gonna come from, and that it needs to. Otherwise, it'll be on life support, or they'll do some shit almost for the gag of it and take a serious moment from Nick Fury losing an eye to making it like a cat scratched it out. Like, again, I mean, we can't go that route for all the characters just because we want to throw one of those in there. Yeah, they got to be characters that are that kind of goofy and comical. I get it. But when you have a serious character, just lean in seriously with it. Yo, I just hope one thing that they do is canonize the Netflix series. And I think if they realize that, yo, man, we need to go serious, they're going to canonize the Netflix series, and then they're going to build from there. Even though I know Kevin Feige, he doesn't want to share because at the time, the Netflix series was show ran by someone else, and he didn't really want to work with them, so they made sure that things were separate. That's why they always refer to it as the event in the Netflix series. I think what they're going to try to do is canonize it, or loosely canonize it, but it depends on who they cast. Because, even though they got Daredevil, if they got everyone around him that was in the other series, then fine. They got I forget the guy's name, but the guy that does that played Shane in Walking Dead, and he also played Punisher in the recent series of Punisher. If they get all the characters that was around him and use flashbacks, then you'll know that they're gonna fold them all together. And they own the property, they can do it. It's just a matter of, will Kevin Feige allow it? And now that he's already allowed other people to have a lot more input because he stretched himself so thin, he may be more open to canonizing the Netflix series, because that everyone loves. And then he might just say, hey, do whatever we got to do to get the writers from before and see where they would have done with these characters. And I think that would be the wisest decision, to have Phase 5 go in a good direction, at least starting with your Netflix series by putting out all the Netflix series on Disney Plus and pushing everything else to build off on top of what they did. The only problem you're going to have is with Iron Fist, and we'll see who they cast for that. But in any event, the thing is are they in trouble? And I know one thing for sure, they are paying attention to the numbers. Marvel and Disney, they are paying attention to the numbers, because they do not want to wreck this brand, because the brand has been very lucrative for Disney. But let me know what you guys think and how you felt about Phase 4, and how you feeling about how Phase 5 is just starting out to be. Leave it in the comments below. Let me know what you think. Like, share, subscribe. See you next time. And as always, till I have a better outro, chill.